make sure to follow us on Instagram at Whistlethrowers. It's a great way to interact with our show. Our DMs are always open for questions, topic discussions, and more. You will be able to find our new episodes and other announcements there.
That Game 5 was probably the most exciting basketball game I've ever seen that wasn't a Game 7.
Thanks for tuning back into the season finale of the Whistle Throwers podcast. This is Jack Mubarak, joined by
Jack Sledmaker.
And Hayden Tiksinski.
And the NBA season has officially concluded. Not in the way we wanted it to end, but we'll take it anyway. Nuggets performed the gentleman's sweep on the Heat. Although it was a 5-game series, I thought it was a really good 5 games. Well, a good 3 games. There were 2 blowouts, but good 3 games. Especially Game 5 until Jimmy had that late turnover, then just downhill from there.
Yeah, right.
But a lot of takeaways from this. Jokic and Murray are incredible.
Yeah, right.
Both of them. You don't, obviously Jamal's never been to an all-star game even, but he's a top 20 player.
Yeah, right. He proved it. And it's kind of eye-popping that he hasn't made an all-star game. Also has to do with he dealt with injuries. Let's be real. I mean, a couple of years of his career weren't what he is now. It's crazy to see how he's elevated his game. I mean, I think we'll see 5-6 all-star appearances from him moving forward. I think that when you perform like that in the playoffs and win a finals, be a key piece on a finals team, you start getting respect, and he'll start getting those nods over some guys who I think in the end, when the All-Star game hits, there's always 1 or 2, maybe 3 players who get in based off of their
Kyle Lowry.
Yeah, based off of their past. And sometimes they get nods over guys who may be more deserving. I think Jamal Murray's putting himself in that class, which isn't a bad thing. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that he deserves it. He deserves that kind of respect where he should just get an all-star nod unless he performs terribly, and it's amazed to see how he's elevated his game. I'm a huge Calipari guy, so I like the Kentucky guards that come into the NBA. So I'm happy to see Jamal Murray doing that. There isn't enough to say about Nikola Jokic. I think I could start on him by saying, which I think I've said before too, but I was wrong on him. Didn't think that he would be able to perform the way he did in the playoffs. I didn't think the Denver Nuggets as a team would be able to perform the way they did. All of that has to do with Nikola Jokic. He is the engine behind that train. I do think Embiid can get to that, but it's going to take a lot of work. You see what Jokic had to go through. Jokic had to go through multiple seasons where his team vastly underperformed. Last year they were a 6th seed and were out in the first round. The year before, they were down 3-1. And they came back, but they ended up getting owned in the Western Conference Finals. You can go through a lot. Jokic never really had playoff performances where you were like, wow, that is going to accumulate to what it accumulated to this year. And I was wrong. He is the best player in the NBA, unquestioned. I want to point out a huge difference with him. In Game 4, he only had 23 points. He only shot 42% from the field. And he had 12 rebounds, only the 4 assists, which normally is Denver probably lost that game. You're looking at that saying, he shot 42%. He only had 4 assists, had less than 25 points. Embiid averaged 23 points this playoffs. There is a big, big, big difference between Nikola Jokic's Game 4 23 points and this postseason's Joel Embiid 23 points. If Joel Embiid wants to even be a leg behind Jokic, career-wise, he has a leaf to turn. He really does. And I do think he can do it, but he has a leaf to turn. It's so glaringly obvious.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that stood out to me, I don't know why this isn't being talked about more, Jokic and Murray are the only 2 players in NBA history, not finals history, NBA history, to both get 30-point triple-doubles in the same game.
Yeah.
I don't know why that's not being talked about more. That stat right there just shows how dominant they were.
Yeah.
And to your point, Slay, about how Jokic's assist numbers were really down, that's what the Heat wanted.
Yeah.
That gave them a chance to win. So the game plan was there. There was just a lot of pieces, in my opinion, that didn't work out. Jimmy Butler just did not show up the same way they did in other games. And I think that Jimmy's getting a lot more hate than he deserves. True. Even in Game 5, he was flat out awful. He still was able to get 21 points on 5 of 18 shooting, but he was also 2 of 5 from 3.
Yeah.
So even though he underperformed, he still found a way to get 21 points and put them back in his place to win.
Yeah, and he kept them in the game.
Yeah.
He actually did.
And I think the biggest thing is that the Heat just don't have a second star for Jimmy.
Yeah.
I mean,
Bam was the best player of that series.
Yeah,
though.
Bam was sort of that second guy, and he surely showed up in Game 5. Like, that 14 points he had off the bat. But Bam's not the type of guy where I'm like, okay, I can rely on you in late game situations. Jimmy's not there.
Right.
Like, other teams are set up, obviously, with the Nuggets. If Jokic isn't doing it, they're going to rely on Murray.
Yeah.
For the Lakers, if LeBron's not going to step up, you have AD. Like, I don't feel that same way about the Heat.
Yeah.
And I think that was their biggest issue. Their role players also really struggled in certain big game situations, which you kind of felt like there was going to be a bit of a fall off.
Yeah.
And Jimmy wasn't going to score 50 points on this team.
Yeah.
Like, that just was flat out not going to happen. Yeah. So I think that the Heat's lack of talent really showed in this series. I will say, though, that Game 5 was probably the most exciting basketball game I've ever seen that wasn't a Game 7. Because the amount of intensity in it felt like a Game 7. And people will say, oh, this was a forgettable series because there's only 5 games. Had this series somehow gone to 7, this would have been the best series ever because Game 5 was intense. Game 6 would have been intense. Yeah. I don't even know what Game 7 would have been like.
Honestly, like, Game 7 would have felt like a 70-point, 80-point game for both teams because of how hard they were playing.
And that was the whole thing, is that even though the Nuggets only made 1 3-pointer until the middle of the third quarter, it didn't seem like that they were phased at all. There's a lot of teams, and this goes back to teams that shoot the threes a lot. This is what affected the Celtics. Yeah. This is what affected the Houston Rockets of the past. Yeah. What happened to Golden State Warriors in certain games that they lost is that when you live and die by the three, usually you are dead when you can't make a 3-pointer. With the Nuggets, they were missing threes and said, okay, we're fine. Mm-hmm. We're just going to bully our way in. We're going to find open shots. We're going to make this work. There's a lot of teams when you're missing shots like that, you get discouraged, you feel despaired, and you just totally shut down. And the fact that the Nuggets didn't do that, and to a certain extent the Heat didn't do that either, showed why these two teams made it as far as they did.
Right, yeah. And another thing I wanted to say, piggybacking off of you, is like, I think the most glaring thing about Bam Adebayo is, like, I agree with you. He was probably the best player on the Heat in those 5 games against the Nuggets. You know, you were just rattling through a lot of duos that are amazing. For the Heat, you can go to Jimmy Butler when you need a bucket. You can ISO him. But then when Jimmy Butler's cold, you can't just give the ball to Bam Adebayo and tell him to go score. Like, he's not that kind of guy. No. His game, I don't want to say is solely based off of, but a lot of it is based off of the team, you know, and the system that he's in. And that's not a knock on him. He's a great player, but you're right. Like, he's just not in that upper tier. The reports are that Miami wants to get Beal. So I know you disagree with that in terms of what their need is.
Yeah, can I explain?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I have nothing to say about the Nuggets. Like, they're a great team. We all know that. But, like, the Heat have no true size. And in both the final series, they were getting bitched in the paint and with all the rebounds. And Bam's not even a true center. He's like, what, 6'10"? Like, he should be playing.
We talked about this before the series even started.
Yeah, and like, it was just so glaringly obvious to me, and it's not even like a difficult issue. But like, if you get a guy like Clint Capella or like DeAndre Ayton, Joseph Nurkic, Steven Adams even would fit great in Heat culture. Like, it would be so much less expensive. You wouldn't have to like deplete your entire roster to get either Dame or Bradley Beal, and you'll actually address the issue at hand and like keep all the guys that you have together that brought you there. Because like, let's face it, Jimmy isn't the reason they pushed the game to Game 5. It was Bam and the role players. Like, I just think like you don't, because if they go after Bam or if they go after Beal or Lillard, they're getting rid of Hero. That's like 100%. Yeah. And they're getting rid of at least like 2 out of the following 3 guys, Duncan, Caleb, or Gabe Vincent. Like, you don't want to do that if you're the Heat. Yeah. And running 4 guards and a power forward just doesn't work. So you got to address the center issue and like actually get some guys on the team, because Cody Zeller was the only real center on that team. And like he played like 7 minutes a game.
Yeah. And when he played in those 7 minutes, mean, like Jokic was just abusing him and had everything he wanted on him. The Heat were able to get by in the Eastern Conference. I think it sort of was a miracle run for them a little bit, because I think they ran into the best team in the NBA and it showed that that wasn't going to work. And I think that it also shows that Denver is on a different tier right now than pretty much everybody else in the league. I don't think anyone in the East was on their level. You know, coming into that, I was saying whichever of the top 3 teams in the East makes it is going to beat Denver. And now that everything played out, that's probably not true. Like, I think that Denver would have beaten anyone that came out of the East. I think they were that good. They just had to show it in the playoffs, and they did. And then some. Like, I think that, you know, people will try and diminish this Denver run by saying, oh, they didn't play that many good seeds. Like, and that's true. You know, you look at it, they obviously played an 8 seed in the first round. You're the 1. Then you played the Suns, who I think we were all questioning the Suns' ability. And like, I know that the Suns were literally the betting favorite to win the title going into the playoffs. I'm pretty sure. Like, that's like crazy to think about.
Okay, yeah, I will say though, Vegas' picks for this were horrible.
And like, they're trying to entice people to put money on Phoenix. And like,
it was Phoenix, and then it was the Sixers.
Yeah, it's like
both of those lost immediately in those rounds.
And they look so much worse than the top 2 betting favorites. And it's like, I mean, obviously you can't take that too seriously, but still, that holds weight. You know, Vegas putting the Suns as the number 1 team, that holds weight. But back to my point, like, I don't think that Phoenix was much of a challenge at all. Like, I didn't think that going in. I don't think that now. And then, they played the 7-seeded Lakers. Like, I get it, but everyone they ran through put up their best fight. And it was nothing. It was absolutely nothing. Like, no one came close to Denver. Even Phoenix, who took it to 6. Dude, they did not come close. And they lost that game 6 at home. So that tells you a lot. Like, this was one of the most dominating playoff runs I think I've seen in any sport. Like, eliminating the Warriors. Eliminating that, this was one of the most dominant runs I've seen by a team and actually an individual too. I'll put that up for debate because, I mean, I'm running through some in my head, like Jokic this year, Giannis 2021, LeBron 2018, LeBron 2016. There's a lot of LeBrons in there. Yeah. And then you're literally going back to like Kobe and Jordan. And Shaq,
I was going to say Shaq's runs. But and even with that, you could argue whether or not it was him or Kobe.
Right. And it's like,
and that's a really hard debate to get into.
But think about that.
But like, that's what we're comparing. That, like, Jokic flat out played better than any of his teammates.
Yeah. I have not had a team that I said, like, I would not put them up against the Warriors, those early 01 Lakers, and those 90s Bulls. Like, I haven't seen really an NBA team win a championship that I was like, they could put up a fight. But this Denver team, even with their lack of superstar, quotation marks, superstar ability, seriously would go toe-to-toe, I feel like, with any of the number 1 dynasties we've seen in the NBA. I loved the way that team played. I thought they played an insane brand of basketball, and everything that plagued those teams that I talked about, like, there were chemistry issues with Lakers, Bulls, Warriors. There were on-court issues with them at multiple times. Yeah. You never saw that with Denver. No. There was, like, they are the most tight-knit group by far. They play incredibly well together. Like, that is the perfectly built team ever. Yeah. For everyone, not even just Jokic. Like, that's built well for Murray. It's built well for MPJ. It's built perfectly. I think the person it's built most perfectly for is Aaron Gordon.
Yeah, it is.
I think like he showed
that's something
a lot.
That Caleb talked about on this one episode that's on this. That's the most underrated player. Going back to that point about the dynasties, I think this team was set up so well because of how much adversity they had to go through.
Yeah.
With Jordan, before the dynasty, it was Jordan alone. Yeah. Pippen never really dealt with any of that adversity when he got there, and that's the reason the Bulls were so much better. Yeah. And that's why there's animosity between them, because Pippen knew that without him, the Bulls wouldn't have been where they're at. Yeah. With Kobe and Shaq, same thing. Kobe didn't win a championship before Shaq. Shaq didn't win a championship before Kobe. Yeah. Both of them wanted to be the alpha dog. Yeah. And with the Warriors, you never really saw that between Steph and Clay. But Draymond, I think, felt like that his role was underappreciated by the Warriors, by the fans, by the media. Yeah. And that led to a lot of the problems. Yeah. None of these guys feel underappreciated at all. Probably my favorite part about this championship was seeing guys like DeAndre Jordan and Ish Smith and Jeff Green and all these guys that had never won a championship.
Reggie Jackson.
Those 4 guys all crying and celebrating winning a championship. That just shows that even these role players that didn't get to play at all love the fact they were on this team. Yeah. How many veteran guys that were star players at one point or just role players on other teams that now didn't basically play at all would be crying about winning a championship? Yeah, right. Like, none of them. And all these guys are so happy to be there. And I think that shows the culture that Denver has shut up.
Yeah, and like there was actually a SportsCenter post today that was like entailing a bunch of guys talking about winning. There's this one clip of a Georgia Tech football coach talking about how it takes everyone on the team and then some to win, and it's still not guaranteed. And that's so true. Like, if you've ever been on a sports team, if you've ever been a part of anything competitive, you know it takes everyone top to bottom. So to see them like truly embracing that, like you were saying, like they're literally in tears, uncontrollably emotional over this. And like, it's because they know that they legitimately contributed to this. Like, they may not have got a minute, they may not have got a significant minute, but they still contributed. They were there at every training camp, every practice, every game throughout the year. Like, they contributed to that.
Yeah, and I think we hit the NBA Finals. We could quickly touch on Ja Morant's suspension. So he got suspended the first 25 games of the year. To me, that just feels like the NBA is kind of like inadvertently showing that they need Ja Morant more than Ja Morant needs to play basketball. And I think you're kind of setting him up to like give him that idea that he could keep doing this and like getting a slap on the wrist. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if he's going to learn from this, honestly. That's all I'm going to say.
I understand that, but honestly, like I will
add he's not eligible for a Supermax anymore.
That honestly might be the thing that makes him learn from it, ironically, is because he's going to miss out on a lot of money. I was preparing for him to be suspended for like more than half of the season, and if that did happen, I was going to come here and say that it was too much. Like, I think that they went a little too harsh on him. I actually like the 25 games, and I think that they set it up like, this is 25 games now, and if it happens again, it's going to be a year or more. Yeah. Like, it will be. You're going to miss out on seasons, not just a quarter of a season. I mean, to your point, like, I don't know. We all don't know if Ja Morant will learn from this. Like, only time will tell, but if he doesn't change things about how he acts, like, he's just an idiot. Because honestly, I do think that he's getting slapped in the face right now. Like, it's like, wake up. And it's like, because you're throwing this away. Like, you literally are. And you're right. Like, if it happens again and he doesn't learn from it, like, he's gonna learn, you know, at that point, because he's going to miss out on an insane, not just a Supermax contract. He's gonna miss out, like I said, seasons. His career might be over. Like, the NBA might not let him back in. You never know.
So he's not getting Supermax. Isn't he also losing like $500,000 as well by not playing? So, I mean, right there's a financial
per game or one.
I think it's per total. The 25.
Yeah.
So it would be overtime. He's missing on something like $500,000. So right there, that's just a financial incentive to not do this again. Like you brought up, the Supermax is obviously the thing that most people talk about. But also just not getting those paychecks. And also you're losing sponsorships. All the things that we've talked about before.
Yeah.
He really does need to wake up. And like I said before, I hope that he takes his time to be with his family, be with his daughter, focus on those things and just being a better person, less on the basketball stuff, less on the people that put you in that situation.
Yeah.
And hopefully things will be better from this. I think that when it comes down to it, to me, because we don't know 100% sure if it was a real gun or fake gun, like, we just will never know.
Yeah.
So I think it would be hard to say suspended for an entire season based off of that.
Right, yeah.
Even with all the other stories that we've heard.
Yeah.
So I think 25 is enough. Half a season to me would have been fine. Mm-hmm. Anything more would have been a bit excessive. But even for half a season, I would say that maybe the NBA had the best interest for him. Because I do agree, Jack, with what you said, where it feels like the NBA didn't have the best in mind for Ja Morant. It was more, we need him back for our reasons. Where half a season, I would say, you could argue that they're focusing on making sure he's okay.
Yeah.
And I just don't know if that's 100% what they're doing.
Yeah.
I do trust Adam Silver. He does seem to have a great connection with the star players.
Right, yeah.
He always seems to have what the players want in mind, as well as the owners, which could be a hard line to bounce as a commissioner. But I feel like out of all the commissioners in sports, he seems to be the best at keeping the players' best interests in mind. And I feel like that those conversations he's having with Morant are genuine. I just hope that everyone can come away feeling that Morant is learning and that Morant feels like he can get back to where he was before this. And not just as a basketball player, but just as a human being.
Yeah, and that's like a really interesting point by both of you too. Like Carmelo Anthony told a story about when he got suspended earlier in his career, and David Stern told him word for word, you need us more than we need you. And like, that's kind of an interesting point, because it's not true that the NBA needs Ja Morant more than Ja Morant needs the NBA. Like, Ja Morant needs the NBA more than the NBA needs Ja Morant. Ja Morant's a great player, but there will be more Ja Morants. Yeah. You know, there are going to be more players like him.
Ja Morant, speaking hypothetically, had Zion stayed healthy and not been hurt all the time, but been that player that transcended the NBA the way that he seems to do when he's on the court.
And if he was smarter.
Yeah.
Right, but what I'm saying is that, let's say it was a guy like Zion, like LeBron James, like someone that would have been the big face of the NBA and had done this, do you think that the NBA then would have, the NBA cannot live without those type of players?
Yeah.
I feel like
Zion?
No, but I'm saying, like, hypothetically, had Zion been, like, a LeBron James-esque player.
Or what they thought.
Yeah.
Like, what I'm saying is the NBA can't live without those type of players.
Yeah, no, he's not the same as, like, the two.
That's what I'm saying, that they don't really need Morant the same way they would have needed Zion had Zion lived up to his potential. The way that they needed LeBron James. The way that they definitely needed Kobe and therefore didn't suspend Kobe when all that stuff out of Aurora happened.
Yeah, right.
Like, those are players that the NBA will be like, okay, we're going to have your back to an extent. Same thing with Michael Jordan when all that gambling stuff happened. Like, there is certain players that the NBA will cradle to me an egregious extent.
Yeah.
Because the NBA, you only have 5 guys on the court at the time. You need those star players.
And it's a very, very, very like small
limited.
VIP
it is a
club.
Small
very, very,
group
very
of
small.
absolute stars. And unfortunately for John Morant, as great as a player he is, he's not one of those guys.
No, he's not.
I'm sick of having him in the headline. Of the
I know,
podcast.
I'm sick of this too. Like, you're not even close to that. Like, you are just not even close to that. And yet, you are doing things like this. It's mind-boggling. And same, like, you brought up Zion too. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, you
I didn't even mean to mention Zion in that extent.
No, I know. You were right, though. Like, if Zion was what the NBA thought he was going to be, you're right.
Then they would have totally cradled him.
He's a bust, though, in my eyes. Like,
no, he definitely is, for sure. Like, I'm not even trying to defend that. He totally is. He's a great player when he's healthy, but he can't stay healthy. And the biggest issue for him, look, Morant's in the headlines, but at least he plays when he's not in the headlines. Zion's not even playing and causing issues for the Pelicans in the NBA.
Honestly, I think the stuff that is more enticing on Zion isn't the porn stars that are coming out, but
BBWs.
It's the reports today that Zion has no relationship with the Pelicans front office, and he has a minimal relationship with his teammates. Like, that's
and
more...
he seemed to want out of New Orleans since he got drafted.
Yeah, I know. Like, he wanted the Knicks
you want to go with the Knicks?
Yeah.
With the way that you've been acting now, you really think that the Knicks, after everything that James Dolan's had to go through, that the Knicks have had to go through, that they're just going to bring in a random superstar and be like that, a guy that is a superstar when he can play, but he's not really healthy, and the Knicks are going to say, yeah, we're going to throw $100 million, $200 million at you, because you definitely deserve that. They're not going to do that.
Yeah, they're not.
You guys want to talk about the A's for a little bit, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't know a lot, but
yeah,
I'll just go first. I feel like everyone thought like the fans were terrible because like they always have bad attendance, but like I think this last week showed that like they actually have great fans. They're just sick of the ownership's like antics, and like they really showed out, and like it was cool to see, and like they're moving, right?
It's not finalized,
but pretty at this point. Nevada called a special legislation to vote on this. The special legislation said they're agreeing to it. The governor has to sign into agreement. Seems like that's going to happen. At least I think not all 30 owners, but a majority of owners have to agree to the move. Seems like that's going to happen. So it does seem like they're moving to Vegas.
It's sad though. Like Oakland lost all their teams, and like they have great fans.
So a couple of points. One that most people don't know: when the A's make this move, they'll be moving for the 4th time in franchise history. That'll be the most moves ever in baseball history by franchise, which is just shocking because the A's do have a great culture. Oakland, even though every team has now moved out of Oakland or will be moving, the Oakland fans are some of the most passionate in sports. I mean, it was every time the Golden State made it to the finals, those fans are loud. Every time that Oakland, the Raiders played, that pit was just amazing. And they played in one of the worst stadiums in sports. You can't expect the A's fans to show up to a game when their owner is intentionally losing to move them out. Like, why would the fans support that after getting heartbroken by the Warriors and heartbroken by the Raiders? And here's the other thing, too. Yes, the A's never really sold out the way that other teams did when they were good. However, the A's play in the worst stadium in baseball. You can't expect fans to show up to games. When they play in the wild card, they still sold out 60,000 seats. So clearly people wanted to go. They just wanted to be at the stadium. Second thing, too, yes, the A's were competitive, but how competitive were they really? You knew that they were going to trade these guys down the road. They never went out of their way to sign a superstar. The A's are one of only 3 teams in Major League Baseball history not to sign someone for a $100 million contract. So that right there tells me you're not being competitive. And as a White Sox fan, I know that. We're one of those teams that hasn't signed a $100 million player. I know we're not trying to be competitive. I know we haven't tried to do that since 2005 when we had, luckily enough, pieces came together to win. And that's what's so frustrating. I sympathize with that, and luckily, right now, it seems like the White Sox won't move. The White Sox are the second best team. There's a good chance that they could leave Chicago at some point.
And like, to your point, too, the A's just not making an attempt to even make this team good.
No.
I mean, it's ridiculous. And a bunch of people are like, oh, I hate when the big market teams, like, throw money at players and stuff. And I hear you, but at the same time, can you blame them? Like, they are catering to their large fan bases. They want to put fans in their beautiful stadiums. Look at Oakland. Like, they have a large fan base. Northern California that's a large portion of the country. And I know they share with San Fran, but still. And look at San Fran. They have this amazing ballpark. They bring in players all the time that they want to. And
they were in contention for Aaron Judge.
Yeah, right. And, like, I mean, it's kind of a joke. Like, the owner in Oakland made no attempt, really, to build a new stadium. Like, he, like, put it at the mayor of Oakland, and it got denied because Oakland didn't want to pay for it.
So, basically what he said was, we're going to pay $100 million privately, which sounds great in theory. This was going to be $1 billion stadium. Yeah. So that means 9/10 are being paid by the city of Oakland, which is bankrupt right now.
Yeah.
So they can't afford it. Also, if you can't afford a new stadium, if you can't afford to sign top players, sell the team.
Yeah, right.
Which is what Oakland fans are saying to do. If you can't afford it because you don't have that money to build a new stadium and sign top players, there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, this is above my pay grade. I need to sell. The A's would sell easily for $3 billion. $2 billion.
Yeah.
And the group that would buy them would be happy to spend that money.
Right, to pay for a new... Yeah, I completely agree. And, like, it's ridiculous. Like, you're going to move to Las Vegas, which is... Look at the Raiders.
Yeah.
Like, their stadium is nearly empty besides when a big team comes to town.
That's what I don't... People are like, oh, yeah, Vegas is going to bring so many fans. Really? Just every time that the Raiders play a game, it's literally the home crowd takes over.
Yeah, like, you saw, like... Chargers took it over.
The Chargers!
The Commanders took it over. The Steelers took it over. And those are three teams that were not really winning all that much. No. The Chargers were winning, but it wasn't like they were the Chiefs who are in their division. Like, and then you're talking the freaking Commanders took over your stadium. Yeah. The Steelers, who were under 500, took over your stadium. The Eagles, who were
every East
whatever
Coast
that
team,
year, like we were 2-5-1 or something.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean? Like, you are not going to get some, like, stoned fan base in Las Vegas. You're not going to get it.
No.
And it is only going to be defects.
And see, the thing is that it could happen if it was an expansion.
Yeah.
Look what the Knights did. They were an expansion team, and the city loved them because it was their own.
Yeah.
The Raiders are not their own. The Athletics are not their own. Yeah. These are transplanted teams that moved out of Oakland because both owners refused to privately build a stadium. And by the way, for as much hate as this stadium in Philadelphia is getting, the proposed Sixers one, at the very least, I understand there's a lot of issues with Chinatown and all this other stuff. At least it is being privately funded 100%.
Yeah.
That's the way to build stadiums. Stop asking the cities to pay money when the cities do not have money and have 100 other things above them than building you a new freaking stadium.
Yeah, I like... Newsflash to all these sports teams, you aren't the most important thing in your city. You're just not. Like, I know you dominate headlines, but you aren't way down the list of priorities from your city. Probably close to the freaking
they should be. Unfortunately, they're not, and the owners realize that, and especially the NFL.
Yeah.
Look, Major League Baseball, as much as it's not dying anymore, the NFL has replaced baseball.
Yeah.
Cities feel they need an NFL team more than they need an MLB team.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm shocked that the city of Oakland didn't go out of their way. And good on the city of Oakland, by the way. I know that they're going to get a lot of hate from fans, so I totally get that from fans' perspective. But as someone that lives in the city a lot of the time, thank you for the city of Oakland for sticking up and saying, we do not have the money to build this, and putting themselves in more bankruptcy to cater to the Raiders. Like, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree. And your point, too, about expand there. And that's what Harper said, too. He's like, I would like that if they expanded there, you know? But it's like, you're so right. Like, and think about where Las Vegas is. It's close to Southern California, and honestly, probably a lot of those fans are LA fans.
Oh, yeah.
That's probably a huge portion of Las Vegas is LA. Yeah. And dude, there's no Dodgers or Rams fan that is, or actually 49ers, because that's probably bigger. There's no Dodgers, Angels, or 49ers fan living in Las Vegas that is like, oh, the Athletics are coming. Oh, the Raiders. Imagine a 49ers fan living in Las Vegas says, oh, the Raiders are coming to town. Great. I'm a Raider. Like, no. You aren't just throwing 60 years of tradition out.
Do we really expect the Athletics to change their culture from the past 20 years of Moneyball? Right. Like, why would they haven't done it at all? They haven't gotten, they've had the same revenue. Oakland, okay, maybe if they move to Vegas, they'll get a slightly higher revenue. But if they're bad, people aren't going to go. Vegas is an entertainment town. If you're going to Vegas and the team's bad, they're not going to show up. And that's my last point on this.
Okay, all right, we'll get into questions from our fans. First off, we'll go light here. What's everyone's top 3 favorite songs right now?
Ooh. Oh, that's good.
I Hate You by Tyler, Wish You Were Here, Pink Floyd, and La Noche de Noche, Bad Bunny.
Oh, those are good choices. Yeah. I have to quickly check my Spotify and see, because I have in my opinion, a great summer playlist. Some other people will disagree. Yeah. But I've added a couple newer songs that I've been listening to. There's one song by Lorde called Solar Power, which I listened to last year. Great song. I love Lorde. I think she's a great singer. Yeah. That one's one of my favorites. I found one called Macho by Wick Whitney, who's someone that I found on Instagram. I love this song. He's got a great voice. It's sort of interesting. He does it's rap, but it's more like a poetry type rap, and he does it in like a soul type. It's just a great song to listen to. And then the other one that I found recently that's older, but I still love it, Paper Planes by MIA. Oh yeah. Another great song. Yeah.
I want to start Already Gone by the Eagles, especially going into summer. I just think that's windows down, that kind of thing. I just love that. And then my favorite artist of all time, Kenny Chesney. He is my favorite artist of all time. Jesus. Country, he's just a great artist. By him, I have so many songs that I could pick from. Going into summer, I mean, I think you want something more upbeat. And that's kind of my flow anyway. I like more upbeat songs. I like sad songs when they're good, but you don't really want to listen to a sad song constantly. Just brings you down. So I'll go Beer in Mexico by Kenny Chesney. Makes you want to just sit on a beach, crack open a beer, I just love that. And then another one that makes me feel like that, Where the Boat Leaves From by Zach Brown. I just dude, that's my dream, is just sitting on a beach all day. You know what I mean? And that's what I cater to in my music.
I will say, The Highwaymen, if we're going off country, Johnny Cash, that's my favorite country group by far. American Remains is a great song. Totally right.
Owen, I'm not saying this for a lot of reasons. You have to cut 3 players on the Sixers. Who would it be?
Ooh! Well, I would start James Harden. No. I would start with Tobias Harris. Okay. Not even close. Yeah. Tobias Harris. Number 2, James Harden. Okay. Because I don't think it's working right now. And if it didn't work the last 2 years, I don't see it working in the future ever with any team. Number 3, everyone other than those 2, I'm not really too down on.
You could say PJ Tucker.
No, I like Tucker. I want him here. I think that he brings something. I think that he'll bring something in the future more than what someone like James Harden or Harris will bring, because you don't ask for the scoring.
Oh, you have to pick a third.
Yeah, no, I'm going to. I'm just running through names in my head Melton. I was between Korkmaz or Niang.
Korkmaz.
Yeah. I would go Niang, because Niang actually takes his shooter shirt off. Okay. Korkmaz doesn't even play.
That's what I'm saying.
But his contract.
Okay, so I'm gonna go. Tobias Harris is definitely number 1. His contract is way too much. Yeah. Luckily, he's on 1 year, but I would say previous to now,
Tobias Harris is the highest paid player on the Sixers.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Yeah. Ben Simmons is still pretty close, right? We're still paying him a lot. Currently on the Sixers, definitely Tobias Harris. It's tough. They've got a lot of really bad bench players. I'm going to go Montrezl Harrell. I think he's a free agent anyway, because they signed a 1-year contract. But please, dear God, do not re-sign him. I would have cut him before this now.
I think he might actually have a player option. I think I heard that on the radio. So he might opt into that.
Please.
Because where the hell would he...
Well, that's the whole thing. Where else would he go? Yeah. But I would much rather Paul Reed play. And then I'm going for Korkmaz. I was really high on Korkmaz before. He's out of the rotation. Every time he's in, he just doesn't do anything. So I really don't like him either. I would say special, someone that's not on the list, but it's pretty close. I would go James Harden's pretty close. Although I keep him in because I don't know any other superstar that they can get at this point that would actually fit with the team. So James Harden's close, but he's not in my top 3.
Joel Embiid.
God! Come on,
dude. Y'all done?
Yeah, go ahead.
James Harden, Joel Embiid again. That's it.
God. Jack just wants the team to be that.
No, that's it.
Matt McClung's going to be the Sixers' best player in Jack's opinion next year.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. At least he won something. He has a trophy in his closet.
The dunk contest definitely needs something nowadays.
All right, thoughts on Shannon Sharp leaving Skip Bayless? I don't care, because I think he's going to first take. And
honestly, better. I don't care, but props to Shannon Sharp. I think that a lot of times Skip overstepped his boundaries, just said some pretty out of pocket stuff. I know his DeMar Hamlin tweet got taken a little out of context, but like still, like you have to have the presence of mind to not tweet that in the moment. Like, and so I actually applaud Shannon Sharp. Like, you don't have to deal with that for some money. Like, you don't. And I think he's going to go to First Take.
Yeah, I could totally see that being an option. I think, I don't love Skip Bayless either. I'm sort of going away from those hot take type shows.
Yeah.
But Skip Bayless totally made those shows with Stephen A. And even though you might not love a lot of Skip's takes, his legacy cannot be taken away. The fact that he helped make Stephen A. what First Take is, and then went to FS1 in 2016 when FS1 was nothing and gave it a show and made Colin, what's his last name?
Cowherd.
Colin Cowherd walk away from ESPN to go to FS1.
Yeah.
That wouldn't have happened without Skip either.
Yeah.
So I think in that type of media view, that's Skip's legacy. It's not his takes. It's the fact that he made FS1 and made guys like Colin Cowherd feel comfortable going away from ESPN and saying, I will have a second job somewhere else.
Yeah, and like ESPN dominated the sports talk market, and like Fox actually has a presence now, which is kind of surprising.
Okay, y'all guess who sent this? Will the Knicks win a championship in the next 5 years? No.
Come on,
I mean,
man.
listen, we don't know what, like 5 years is a long time. I mean, I like Brunson. Like, I really think they could build something around him. Like, I think that Brunson would be a good number 2. And New York is an enticing destination. So I think that they have the capital to add.
Enticing for who? They haven't won a championship in 30 years. They haven't been to a championship in 30 years.
Like, it's just New York.
They haven't been to a championship in 30 years. They haven't won one in 50.
Yeah, like, no, I agree. Like, the Knicks are a straight up loser organization. Like, they are fucking losers, but.
Because James Dolan's their owner. They won't win if Dolan's their owner.
Listen, yeah, that's true. That is definitely true. But also, like, I'm not going to count any New York team out for like a 5-year period because, I mean, look what the Jets did. Like, who would think, what was 5 years ago? 2017, 2018? Who would think in 2018 the New York Jets would have Aaron Rodgers at this point? Like, it would just, you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of where I fall. So, like, I'm going to say no.
Okay.
But I also wouldn't put it out of the way.
It's not happening.
All right. Would you trade Embiid for Jokic and Jeremy Lin? Yes.
Yeah.
And Jeremy Lin. Yes. I love that Jeremy Lin's out of it. I mean, I'm a huge Jeremy Lin fan.
Same, yeah.
But I mean, Jokic and Embiid, I don't think it's even close.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to go straight up Jokic Embiid, it's really not close at this point.
Yeah.
Jokic.
Especially because then you can totally get rid of James Harden and feel comfortable getting a second. Like, if you're breaking it down as like an actual thing, the Sixers hypothetically then would feel comfortable getting a star that's not as good as Harden that could fit in with Jokic. So just
like a Fred VanVleet.
Exactly. Then you can get VanVleet and actually feel comfortable. Where now if the Sixers get VanVleet, it's like, a total downgrade from Harden.
Yeah.
As much as you don't like James Harden, it is a downgrade. Yeah. And it makes the team worse.
Yeah.
Okay, who will win the championship next year? I think it'll be the Nuggets against the Celtics, and I think the Celtics will win.
I'm going Bucks.
I was literally going to
There is so much motivation behind being the 1 seed and losing to the 8th the way that they did.
Yeah.
I think that they come back firing. I think Giannis wants to prove that he is the best player in the NBA, even though he made those jokes at the press conference.
Yeah.
I think that there is that fire within him that will make the Bucks a much better team than they showed in this round.
Like kind of like 2019 UVA, March Madness, like lost to the 16 seed next season, came back and won the freaking championship.
Or it could end up being like Purdue where you got lost to St. Peter's and then come out and lose to FDU in the second game or second season. Yeah,
that's painful. I actually didn't even realize that.
That's painful. Purdue basketball is. Look, I can't rule them out again because I did that to Virginia after they lost the 16th seed and then won. But I mean, Purdue, come on, you're losing to 2 teams that you should have easily beaten.
Yeah,
so.
I don't think a lot of people like this. I don't think so. I'm gonna go LA Lakers.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think that like there's obviously the noise right now that LeBron might leave, but I don't think he's going to leave. I think he's staying, and I think they're going to add someone in D'Lo's role. Raises your eyebrows. Listen, I think they're retaining Austin Reeves. I think they'll get him back. That's a big piece. Oh, who was Mo Bamba? Yeah. I actually like. He hasn't done much. He was the 5th overall pick too, and I don't think Mo Bamba's like some needle mover or anything like that. But I also think that he's a good player to bring off your bench.
Yeah,
I actually like that. So I think the Lakers.
I can see it happening. Yeah. I think that LeBron's like sort of the same thing. LeBron has that motivation to get that push through. Right. So it'll be I think next year will definitely be interesting, especially because there's a lack of huge free agents. So
bottom line is, I could see Denver going back. Like I could see that for sure. And then I don't see Miami getting back. I don't.
No.
Okay, this is the downhill portion.
Okay.
So this is the lightning round for Aiden. All these questions are just for Aiden.
Okay.
And I'm granting him 1, pleading the 5th.
So if this gets taken out of context, I'd answer 3 out of the 4. So
it's a little more than 4. It's a little more than 4.
Okay, well, how many do I get to skip?
1.
I only get okay.
Wow.
You heard that. Everyone that listens to this podcast,
You get to skip 1.
I get to skip 1.
And I think you should skip the last one. I'm just saying.
It's thrown out there. I'm just saying. Do not take this out of context.
All right. We all went to public school. You know what FMK is, right?
I do not know.
Actually, I don't either.
Fuck, marry, kill.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
All
Well,
right.
If you say that, yeah, of course.
Me, him, your brother.
Damn.
What the hell? Oh my god.
Damn. Alrighty. So
Just
the most
get it over
interesting
with.
well,
Yeah, no,
who
so
the
I'm just-
fuck, dude?
yeah. Well, okay. Damn. Yeah.
Okay, marry Caleb.
See, I don't know about yeah, but
Could you kill your brother? Because you can't fuck him.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I would say Mary. I guess you could do I guess
Yeah.
Mary. Wow, between you two, that's rough. I don't know.
I will gladly take the kill. I don't know.
Yeah, all right. The Slay's throwing that out there. So kill Slay, fuck movie.
Okay,
I guess.
the poker table's gonna love that.
Yeah.
All right. Would you join in with a basketball player and his wife?
Honestly, yes, just for the story. Absolutely. Oh, come on. Would you guys not brag about that?
That's true.
All right. On a scale of 1 to 10, how hung do you think Zion is?
Yeah, this isn't a skip one. I'm
No,
actually
this isn't.
intrigued. I'm
Yeah.
intrigued by this.
I think, yeah. I think it's like a 9.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
what
I
I
would
would
say
do.
8, 9.
I think if
the
you're below
dude's
it,
tall,
yeah.
he's built.
Yeah.
I'm saying it's
If you're below an 8, you're tripping.
yeah.
Okay, this one's a layup. Did you see the overtime Megan video?
No.
Video.
I did not.
I saw like 100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
You didn't even see him?
No.
Oh wow. It
Okay,
went
well, I
viral.
can give you it for
Okay.
research purposes.
Okay.
All right, better ball handler, Kyrie or Lana Rhodes?
Okay, that you gotta give me. That's a tough one.
That's a tough one.
I'm gonna go Kyrie because we consider him the best ever,
Mm.
and I don't know if we consider Lana Rhodes the best porn star.
Yeah.
ever. I think that it's a toss up
Yeah.
between. There's a couple different ones where Kyrie's pretty much.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
All right, this is gonna be the toughest one to say. Shit. Would you rather do a 40-year-old MILF with big tits or a 60-year-old with a big tits and ass?
I'm gonna go the first one.
Yeah,
What was
do
just
that.
said.
Okay.
He's going in some dust at a
Yeah.
60-year-old, you know.
All right,
Spider
so
webs and cobwebs
this
over
is
there.
the last one that this is the last one I would answer. How do I prevent myself from finishing quickly?
Oh my god.
See, not from like my own standpoint, but just from what I've heard, and you have to think about something that's not in the moment, like something that like distracts you. So like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen the 70s show episode where
No, I
Eric, who's one of the main characters, and Donna, they're both very turned on in the moment because they both like make out with each other.
Yeah.
So they think about stuff that's totally off topic, and one of the stuff is like baseball and like random stuff that totally would be like a total turn on.
Yeah,
So I
okay.
think that's the best thing that you got to do.
Yeah.
Okay, do you want to hear the one that
I'll
wanted
just
you to
hear
skip?
it for you. Why not?
Entertainment purposes.
I'm cutting this out because I don't want this on the internet. You see why I wanted you to skip that?
Yeah, no, that's fair. That is totally fair.
Okay, yeah, that does it. All right, we'll see you football season, and hopefully we'll get a camera and other shit, and you can call in that. Wow, okay. All right, that's
Yeah.
it. We'll see you football season.